Set.
All set.
Cool. Let me connect it now. It's going to tell me, hey, you're going live, but it's really going to take 7 seconds. So, all right. Well, what is going on, everybody? I know there might not be too many people in here now, but I definitely expect more people to come. As you can see, we have a guest on stream right now. So also, please let me know right now if there's any audio or visual or anything, any kind of problems like that. But as you can see, we got Bob Vu here from Bob's Balls, and he's going to be joining us tonight. We're going to talk with him about. I told everybody on my last live stream, which was Monday night, Bob. I said, man, when I found out about Bob and he started talking about business and all this kind of stuff, I was like, he's a very smart, like younger type man, you know? And so I told everyone, I was like, we're going to talk everything about genetics, business. I wanted to ask you about your new facility there because I have a desire to build a facility of my own one day, comparative to like renting a place or buying a warehouse. So I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about that process since you've been through it as well, and we'll just kind of hit different topics of the night. You know what I mean?
Right.
But let's take a couple seconds. I can kind of give you a second to introduce yourself and say what you got to say before we get going.
Do you start?
Yeah, yeah. If you want to, anything that's on your mind, and then I'll ask you questions because I won't put the burden of carrying the show on you. But if is there anything on your mind right now that you want to say or anything or?
No, you're good. If you think you watched my last interview, I want to say last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ramble on a lot, so you're not gonna have to worry about carrying the whole show.
Cool.
But I'm Babu. I'm the owner of Bob's Balls. We breed ball pythons primarily. I mean, I keep like 15 other species of animals, but we breed ball pythons here, and that's what the business is. The one thing that's on my mind I do want to talk about is that I've been talking to a few people about USARK and our membership lately. I talked to John Lehman and Phil Goss. As of earlier this year, we had 1,500 members before the big push. Right now, we're having about 2,000 members in USARK currently. If you guys are not familiar, USARK is the lobbying group to help keep our rights to keep reptiles and fight the lawsuits like in Florida, like when we turned over the Lacey Act, certain things like that. Now, the concerning thing about having only 2,000 members or paying members for membership is that we have over 10,000 members in the Burmese python and reticulated keeper groups. And those are the animals being attacked the most by the government. So I feel like we should have, upwards 5,000-6,000 members. So I think people are just not aware of this group and how to join. So if you have the chance, go to USARK website and sign up for a membership. It is as low as $40 a year, or all the way up to the gold account, which is $1,000 a year. That would be appreciated. And they do a lot of auctions, and they've been winning cases for us. Like last year, the Florida case. Florida actually have their own USARK chapter. So for those of you in Florida, that would be a great opportunity for you to join the community. But yeah, that's going to be my spill about USARK.
That's pretty cool. So when you say chapter, can you break that down a little bit? Is that a separate website or a separate group that you're donating to, or is it just the main group of USARK?
Right. So USARK, the mothership USARK fights for everything. However, Florida obviously have the most regulations, and they should, honestly. The Florida chapter is separated. It is overwatched by the main chapter still. However, they have their own bank account. They have their own board members and all of that to raise their own money. Like last week, I was down in Tampa. They did their own auction to raise their money. I want to say 25% of the money from the Daytona auction goes to them. And then they have, of course, membership for annual memberships and stuff like that for Florida members alone. And the reason I said Florida should is because I was down in Florida in April, and we went herping down there in Miami. And honestly, this might be not the most popular opinion in the world, but We do have a Burmese python problem down there, but only in 3 counties. Okay, it was we spent 4 days down there herping, and we only found pythons in 4 counties, three counties in Florida. So it's not a rampant problem in Florida. It is a rampant problem in those 3 counties. So I feel like the regulations within those few counties that they can actually survive in would be important. But an all-out Florida ban would just absolutely be ridiculous. We already know that all-out bans on almost anything doesn't really work. Alcohol, whatever. It may be, right. And their reasoning for these all-out bans is that these species will spread and then cover all of Florida and then spread up to Georgia and Alabama, when we already know based on research that they can't. Burmese pythons can't survive. They barely survived the freeze a few years ago, and most of them died. However, they came back into those 3 counties. Orlando, honestly, probably would be as far north as I can ever see them going, because my parents are actually in Orlando, so I bring it up. But Orlando drops down to the 30s. At 30 degrees, Burmese pythons aren't out there thriving. But within the southern counties that we visited, herp down there, it is a problem. It's in those 3 counties. So I think regulation within those few southern counties would be something they can do. But again, regulation versus all-out banning. So again, that's my spill.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, good topic to talk about. But real quick, so about USARK, if someone wants to just donate to them in general, they could go to usark.com, and then the money will go where it's needed, right? Wherever USARK needs it. Because they're going to be fighting for our rights across the nation, but Florida is just a heavy-hitting location right now.
Right. I mean, I'm not sure if you're aware, but South Carolina had recently was the last one that dropped a bill to ban. I think they had like 18 species on the list. Alabama was the one before that, where basically they adopted the Lacey Act into Alabama. And then I think Kentucky was the other one, but that was about 6 months ago. So yeah, they're fighting all over the place. Florida just has their own chapter because there's basically a constant fight down there.
Okay. That is true. Sorry, I was typing something right now. So you might see me typing in the chat a little bit. I know you can't see the chat right now, right? Right. But if questions come up in the chat relating to you specifically, I'll let you know. So yeah, usark.com if you guys want to help fight for our rights of keeping reptiles, which is going to be great. Great organization. So you were speaking a second ago about like auctions and stuff, right? So USARK shows up at a lot of auctions, which ties into shows, right?
Right.
Now, for anyone who's not too familiar, there are reptile shows going on across the nation every single month, basically. And when I started listening to your last podcast and I found out a little bit more who you are, I actually found out that you're huge at shows, right? You're a big show guy, right?
Right.
Can you speak about your show experience? Like how many shows you go to and what you like about shows?
Right. Are you're in California, right?
Arizona.
Arizona, right?
Yeah.
So you guys don't really have that many shows over there. So in the Southeast U.S., we have a large show circuit. So here we have the Repticons, Show Me shows, and then I also attend and vend the NARBC, the national shows in Chicago, Texas, and we're going to do St. Louis probably this year. The thing I like the most about shows, I actually got started into reptiles when I went to my first few reptile shows. I went to Daytona show and I bought a bunch of leopard geckos there. So that's what we have in common.
Nice.
I actually started all of this with leopard geckos. I did leopard geckos. This was 2006, 2007 area. If you remember back then, enigmas were a really big thing. Mm-hmm. That was probably like the biggest new mutation when I was getting into geckos was enigmas. And then we found out about their issues. And then after I got out of that show, I ended up going home, researching and seeing all the mutations that are out there. So I started vending shows in 2012, 13 area, a little bit heavier. And then in 15, 16, we almost did a show once a month. And at that point, I decided to quit my job, my main gig, in 2016. I was doing finance and insurance for a large company, and I was the recruiter for them. I quit that job in 2016 to hit the show circuit. And from 2016 till now, I do about 2 to 3 shows a month, depending on the month. And I honestly enjoy being there. I see a lot of guys at shows that actually hate being there. You know, they sit on their phone the whole time. I like being there because I like the personal interaction, right? I can sit down and talk to you. You can ask me about genetics. We can talk about, you know, whatever. But it's just, I feel like it's easier to talk in person. The sales part is more fun for me anyways. And a lot of these animals, we sit there and we do photo booths and whatever to take pictures. But I feel like just in person, you can really appreciate the colors, patterns, everything's way better. That's why I actually enjoy going to shows. I used to travel to shows that I don't bend, like the Tinley and stuff. I used to fly in and fly out just to see what's new, buy stuff, and talk to breeders and ask them about, you know, whatever secrets they're hiding.
Yeah, yeah. You know, as the hobby grows, we all learn about how to be better at different things, right? Whether it's photography
Right.
or investing. I heard you speak on your last stream about the all white room that you got going on and how that really helps with photographs. That's a struggle of mine right now. That's really cool. The chat was really excited that you have your roots in leopard geckos. So that's super, super cool. But going back to that, you probably know the tangerine leopard geckos, the orange geckos, with a cell phone camera in a normal colored room. No matter how hard you try, it's super, super hard to get accurate coloring of those bright contrasted colors, especially if it's albino and tangerine. So
Right.
I've been doing my best, but I took note from your last live stream, and I told myself that if I build my own place, I'm going to do all white like you did. So can you speak to that a little bit about where the idea came from and how it's working for you so far? Well,
Right. So for you avid leopard gecko guys, Albie Shoal, he lives about an hour away from me now, sold me my first leopard gecko. I bought a Max Snow leopard gecko from him. This was 2005, I want to say 2005. I bought a male Max Snow leopard gecko from him. And he was known, I brought him up because of the tangerine things. He was known for his tangerine line, Torrid tangerine and tornadoes and all that kind of stuff. I actually just hatched some tangerine, albino tangerines and stuff like that. Now, the reason we switched over to this building, well, I wanted more space, but we did white was it reflects the lights better. So I've always ran LEDs, white LEDs in my old snake room, but it just doesn't seem to reflect right. So when we did this room, we did a glossy floor with epoxy poured and basically the brightest set of lights I can find. When I told my contractor about that, he was asking me if I was like growing marijuana in here or something. But we ran LEDs all the way down. If you guys can see this, I'm gonna try to do this real quick.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think this clips the camera, right? There you go.
Oh yeah, nice place.
Right, so this is a little quick tour of what my snake room looks like most of the time. So this is where we do most of our adults over here. This is a water reel.
So real quick, I found out about the water reel from your video last week. What is that? I had never seen that before. What does it connect to, and like how hard is that to put into a building? Or
Okay, it's hard to do if you have to do this like if you already have your room set up. But because this was unfinished, I told my contractor I wanted water to come out of my ceiling, and he said that's not a huge deal. We just run water lines up there. So this basically is a water line connected to one of those outdoor water reels that just drops down from the ceiling. That way, if we were washing tubs or just needed water, you could just come over here, fill up your water bowls, and freshen them up. So my belief is that ball pythons can and will get sick if you leave stagnant water sitting in there for too long. So every week, every single one of these water bowls will get taken out, dumped, rinsed, and get new water in there. Some of them more than once a week, just because if it's stagnant, When we're feeding, we get cocoa in there or whatever. So we'll run through and swap stuff out. Like if I open the tub and I see, okay, so this one was fed yesterday. You can see in there's like a few chunks of cocoa. That's from every time she pops a rat, this cocoa goes flying everywhere. It'll drop in there. The bacteria will sit. This snake will drink this bacteria and it'll get sick. So this rack is due to get done tomorrow. So they're gonna go. One of my employees is gonna go through the whole rack. Everything's gonna get dumped. This is done pretty easily. That's gonna get dumped there. They're gonna rinse this out. Go to the over here. I'm gonna try to do this with one hand. We'll see how that works out. We're just gonna go in here and spray it. I'm not gonna try to do that while holding this camera. And then drop back in here and fill back up. He'll go. I'll go through back and get that done. But yeah, so every time we go through, we'll just go through one rack, grab the water reel, spray it. But that's gonna help you increase your cleaning time by a lot. But yep.
Yeah, that's
water reels.
amazing. I'm gonna keep that in mind. So anyway, yeah, well, whatever your thought was before I asked you about the water reel, if you want to continue.
Okay, no problem. So this is where our subadults are, and then we move over to the baby section. As you can see, we're pretty thin right now on babies. We're hatching about 3 clutches a week here. We're getting into the busier season. We're going to hatch 3, 5, or 7 clutches as the season continues. Right now, everything is separated by genetics. So here, basically, it's everything pied we have available. Everything clown we have available. Really, it's not much left. But we did a show last weekend. We sold 35 snakes, so that really doesn't help. Here is a rack of holdbacks. So I literally have it labeled just for some holdback animals.
Nice. What you holding back, man? What?
I'm holding kind of random stuff.
Okay.
Let me see here. What do we got in here? Let's see what we got here, Bob. Let's see. We have
pretty bright right there.
Yeah, so it's a leopard fire desert ghost het for clown female. It's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Hatched her out earlier in the year.
Someone was asking if you can do it, what your favorite morph was in ball pythons and what your favorite combo might be.
Okay, so my favorite mutation right now to work with especially is desert ghost. The gene itself is, in my opinion, flawless because it hatches out as ugly as that snake will ever be, and it just gets better and better. So my favorite mutation, my favorite combo right now, is a giant logo.
Yeah.
My favorite combo right now is Desert Ghost Clowns. The reason being is that as they age, they just keep that brightness.
Oh yeah,
not like regular clowns, because regular clowns they tend to get a little darker. But the Desert Ghost Clown just keeps this brightness as it ages. It just seems to keep getting better and better every shed.
Okay. Yeah, it's really popping on camera for sure. You know,
it's
popping on camera. You know,
if anyone's ever able to get these tubs, it comes with this little built-in hide here, so she can just get back here most of the time. She'll have her head sticking out right here when she's ready to eat, and you just toss a rat in right out of there. I really like these tubs.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've seen those for sale before. I was going to ask how you felt about them, but that's nice.
I like them. So here's another water reel. Under every water reel is a tub of cocoa. You know, when we replace stuff out, we do the drop down right here,
so
and
how
then
often do you change the cocoa?
We just do it based on looks. You open the tub. If there's poop, change it out. If there's, if it looks clean, it's probably has only been in there for about a week, and it's good. We just go on looks. I don't do like, hey, clean this whole rack out, dump everything, because animals get set up at different times. Like if a female's shedding in there, every time an animal sheds, it usually poops. So when it's shedding, it poops. We just toss everything. I used to be real cheap on cocoa. I try to spot clean and do all this stuff. But now we realize the importance of the health of the animal. We just dump everything pretty much every time now. I set up a whole giant bin of cocoa here at all times. And with my employees, we can probably swap this whole room out in about 4 hours. Wow. So we do tubs at a time. Depending if we see poop, we just go ahead and toss it and dump it in there. I'm gonna take you guys into this room here for a second. There's a big old Boss Balls poster.
Yeah, when I was deciding on which logo to use for the thumbnail, I didn't know if I should try to find the Dragon Ball Z one or that one. But like all your merchandise has that logo with you in the robe in it that I saw like on the some merchandise website. So I was like, I'll use that one. But
Oh yes, this is from my buddy Cedric. They sell merch on there, and he came up with this cartoon, so I kind of like it. So we use it for a lot of stuff.
nice.
This is my other stuffs room. This is where I don't make any money. Just random stuff that I like.
This is where I
I keep
don't make any money.
yeah, dirt frogs and stuff like that. Just random bioactive enclosures, stuff like that. So
Really nice. Yeah, I
some
found out last year that dart frogs aren't poisonous in captivity here, so that might be on my to get list
right,
in the
right.
future.
So it depends. 100% depends on what you feed them. That causes them to become poison dart frogs, I guess. So let me put back down right here. Uh-oh. How do I switch this back? There we go.
Well, that's nice, man. Thanks for the room tour. That was beautiful room. You were getting a lot of people saying, "Wow, very nice room."
Thank you.
Yeah, you answered the question about morph. Somebody asked if you had a little bit of reservations getting into snakes, switching from lizards, or maybe what caused that change for you.
Well, I've always liked snakes. The reason I got out of doing so many leopard geckos, because I did a lot of leopard geckos back then, but at the time, I was actually going through college and paying for my way through college selling leopard geckos. We were selling leopard geckos for $300 to $500 each, and it was really good money. The market for leopard geckos started to decline soon after that. It was like 2000 and I want to say 12, 13, the market started to decline some. And I want to say that's probably because how well they breed. Leopard geckos are they're pretty easy to breed. Crested geckos are the same way, and they breed fast. You can get pretty much animals ready to breed within 18 months, 2 years, and you get, people are pulling eggs. So I slimmed down on my leopard gecko collection. I still keep them. I still have 3 colonies of leopard geckos just because I really enjoy the geckos themselves. I have some black knights, some tangerines, tangerine albino, stuff like that, and super giants. But I slimmed down on that, and I had already gotten into ball pythons by 2007, and started breeding in 2009. The money in the ball python world is a lot different than the money in leopard geckos. Then leopard geckos started getting wholesaled at, like $100 an animal and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that this is all about money, because it's definitely not. I do enjoy the animals a lot, but it's very hard to keep animals at this volume and this, I don't want to say addiction, but wanting to get all these projects and stuff. Right. And it's hard because I keep leaf tail geckos. I keep all these reptiles. And it's hard to do it when you're broke all the time, Mm-hmm. And I realized that people are willing to pay thousands of dollars for these ball pythons. And I really do enjoy the color morphs and the mixture of it all. So we decided to get into ball pythons a little heavier to help pay the bills. So after a few years, in 2013, I broke even, which was like an amazing year for me. I was like, holy crap, I'm in this hobby that I'm doing, and it's not costing me anything. Every year it's not costing me anything. I'm doing upgrades. I'm building rat racks. I'm building all this stuff, and it doesn't cost me anything at all, And that was the realization that if I continue to breed ball pythons, I'm able to just enjoy all of this hobby without coming out of pocket, which was the main issue for a lot of you new investors. You got to consider that your spouse or parents or whoever it is, a lot of their reservation with you investing is the loss of money. Everyone coming in is like, oh, you're buying into this dream but then you're going to end up getting duped and lose money. So that was the reservation. And after I realized that, I was able to really do this and make money doing it. And in 2013, not lose money doing it. I was able to really focus and invest more. Like I said, in 2016, going full time after we realized we actually are able to make a comfortable living doing this. We upscaled it a little bit. And I realized in 2017 and 18 that by myself, there's actually almost physically impossible to take care of this many animals. That's when I started hiring help. I hired my first employee, And then after starting our rat production and rat business, I realized even with two of us, we can't do as many of the rodents. So we got our third, fourth, fifth, employees in. So right now we have 6 employees. Most of them do rodents. It's just me and one other guy. Well, it's me and one guy doing snakes here, and then we have another employee that does some of our other stuff.
Wow, that's amazing, man.
That was now answer. I know.
No, that was good. I feel like I'm cheating in a way because I've gotten to know you a little bit after I. So okay, funny story. Here's what's going on. The reason that you got on my radar is because everyone knows Billy from Mutation Creation, right?
Right.
Pretty much for the most part, and popular YouTuber. I really not everyone has to gravitate to the YouTube scene, but I gravitated to the YouTube scene. So you look up to these guys that are well established and have lots of followers and are doing well. And Billy's such a great-hearted guy sharing his information. And he was like, one day we might consider moving down to the States. And I forget why, but just in passing, he said, yeah, we'll be down there like JKR and Ozzy and Bob Vu. And I was like, who is Bob Vu? I know all of the big YouTube ball python guys. I've never heard of Bob Vu before. And this happens in the hobby, right? You might have people you've never heard of and they have amazing collections. In my head, for some reason, I was connecting. I had seen your name maybe somewhere else before. And maybe I even scrolled past Mixology's broadcast where it said interviewing Bob Vu. And I thought it was Harrison Wang. And I've been to Harry's channel before. And I was like, okay, Harry's got some good stuff, but he's not like on Billy's level. You know what I mean? Right. So I was like, who is Billy talking about that he's comparing himself to Bob Vu? So I was like, let me look Bob Vu up on Instagram. And I was like, oh, Bob's Balls. And I started scrolling through your profile. I was like, oh, this is not Harrison Wang's profile right now. So Harry, I don't know him. He might have a fantastic collection, but just from his videos I saw in the past, it didn't make me go, wow, like when I saw your stuff real quick. And I apologize if it's a great collection, but and I'm sure it is. But that was just my initial first reaction of how you got on my radar.
Okay, that's actually amazing that Billy would even compare, himself to someone like me, because I've always looked at his stuff as like he's like the big superstar in the reptile industry, right? He has a big YouTube channel. His facility is massive. They're doing, amazing work over there. And to even be compared to guys like him and Ozzy and Justin is a big deal. But for me anyways, because again, they've been doing this for a lot longer. Justin, I want to say, I remember people telling me stories of him going into Daytona and dropping, $30,000, $40,000 buying the first lavender albinos and stuff like that. And of course, Ozzy, he's been around since, popular boa days. And he had a factory of producing animals before he started scaling down a little bit. And Harry Wang, my good buddy Harry. That's your boy? Yeah, they get called, Harry Wang. It's kind of unfortunate naming by his parents. But
I didn't think of that at first, but now I get Harry Wang and Bob's Ball. Oh, man. That's cool. So I don't really know Harry, but if you can speak to him a little.
A few times. We're good friends, and he has a very refined collection. When I say refined, for a lot of these guys, they don't have a massive collection. They're not like at 400 or 500 animals. It's very refined, very high end animals. But yeah, he has a very nice collection over there.
Yeah, and he's great on YouTube too. By the way, if you guys want to go support Harry, not everyone's a YouTuber, right? But Harry is a YouTuber. Like, he's about it.
So. Right. I'm not a YouTuber. Okay. So that's why you probably have like, who the hell is Bob Vu? But because I'm not a YouTuber. I started a YouTube channel. I think we have like 1,000 followers.
Almost,
and like,
I want to get you there. Sub to Bob Vu if you haven't yet.
Videos. I think I posted 5 videos in the last 5 years. I mean, it's terrible. I just don't.
I think I saw you in a hammock in one of your videos. I put it on my to-watch list because I was like, I gotta watch this guy talk.
Yeah, I'm really bad at editing, so it literally was just like me recording in a hammock, and I just post it. That's how bad I am with all of that. That's why I can't do YouTube. I mean, these guys spend like Miguel. I'm sure you've heard of Miguel.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally hires someone to edit his videos. Justin does the same thing. You know, so those guys, I mean, it's so much work to do YouTube. Hats off to you guys, because I make a video and I get tired of doing one video a year.
Well, I saw you mention it on Mixology's website or stream. A lot of people don't realize when you try to edit a video nicely, it's going to take you 12 to 15 hours, even if you've done it a lot of times. So I've been growing on YouTube for a little over a year now. So I'm familiar with the editing process. And still, even to this day, it's going to take me 10 to 12 hours to edit a video, to edit it well. You know what I mean? To throw in little funny things and to make sure that it runs smoothly, to cut out the pauses or your breaths. If you know what I mean? Like, even if you take a breath, like, you want to cut that out, right? Like, if you're trying to edit it nicely, all of those little edits turn into thousands of little micro edits. And that, before you know it, you're 12, 15 hours deep into one video, you know?
Right. I mean, like, literally in the last 5 years, I've spent maybe 2 hours editing the 5 videos, because literally I record them.
Yeah.
And I put music, and then that's...
And that's cool too. You don't have to go You know who else is new to the YouTube scene is Ozzy. I had no idea who Ozzy was until JKR and Brian Barczyk and Billy from Mutation Creation, they started mentioning his name, and now I have, I don't know, like I have a good amount of snakes from him that we've invested in around the puzzle project because I found out about him through big YouTube breeders. So, you know, there's many different platforms to kind of get known, and that's why I asked you to talk about the shows a little bit, is because a show is like one of your, like, the way that you focus on shows, there's other people out there that focus on YouTube. There's many different ways to connect, but if you are going to do this full time, you have to find an audience to connect to and somebody to sell to, right? So
So Ozzy is a interesting one. Like, I've always known Ozzy because since I got into the ball python industry, but he's not very popular social media wise. He's not like a social media guy. He don't post a lot on Facebook and stuff. He just started doing YouTube, and you can see from his YouTube videos, I watch every single one of them. They're very, you're like, oh man, the lighting's bad or whatever. He's brand new to it. He has no idea, but people will still watch him because of the material, right? He's showing snakes that I don't even have a chance at making for the next 5 years. You know, so he's showing all these new things, the stuff that he's been working on. So I have to watch it. I don't really care what the video quality is. But there are certain guys out there. I mean, Justin's videos, I mean, they spend hours editing those videos. I mean, they're great. I mean, great content also. But Justin's been doing videos for, I don't know, you probably find his videos from 10 years ago. Actually, you can find his videos from 10 years ago because that's actually how I learned to set up my rats and stuff like that in his old videos that he used. But you're right. If you're going to do this full time, if you're going to come and say, hey, I'm going to do reptiles, it's not just ball pythons. If you're going to do reptiles or be inside the reptile industry full time, you do need to find like what you're good at. Okay. So I'm terrible at YouTube. I already know that. I can't even come up with new content to do a video every week, but I'm great at shows. I love talking to people, and I actually put a lot of thought into my show display. So if you'll come to a show, you'll see my banners. I have 8-foot banners. You walk into the showroom, you will not miss my table. I have an 8-foot banner that hangs up.
So you have like 15 tables, right?
Right. I mean, we set up as big as possible. We have the brightest lights at the show. Literally, it'll look like this at the show. I basically went out and got the most, the nicest set of lights you can find for a show. I'm gonna try to plug my phone back up here. I think I mentioned it to you earlier. It was dying. Yeah, I basically went out and got basically every time I go to a show. When I was just attending, I was looking at these people's tables and I was picking out what I did like and didn't like. Like, I hated going to someone's table and they'll have like a $2,000 snake in a deli cup. I hated that. I hate picking up a $2,000 snake out of a deli cup. It feels cheap almost to me. I've seen them like in cookie pans. I've seen all of it. And I absolutely hated that. So I was like, I always wanted acrylic displays. And I'm glad ARS now makes glass displays. So the top of the displays are all glass. It shows so much better. The animals' colors, there's no glare. There's no streaks. You can wipe them off. They're super clean. So that's what I really like. And I basically stole everyone else's ideas. Anytime I see a new idea that's good on a show, I steal it. I have no shame. I'm stealing everybody's ideas.
Yeah, I mean that's how we learn, right? That's how we grow. I mean, just on that topic, real quick. I mean, I think that's amazing that you were into leopard geckos. But tying into the whole sharing of ideas and information, I'm new to the ball python world, but where I think the ball python world really, really increased is when your average layman, your average person just getting into the hobby, felt comfortable and knowledgeable and encouraged to start collecting themselves. And I think I was actually just talking about this on my live stream Monday night. What happened with, you know, and I'm not trying to shame anyone or anything. I'm just calling it as I think I see it, and I'm imperfect, right? But what I think happened with the leopard gecko world, I believe leopard geckos have every possibility to be almost or just as popular as ball pythons, but there's not enough promotion of it. I think it makes a great entry level pet. It makes a great advanced keeping pet because there's lots of morphs and fun to play around with, especially now with the Black Knight. And there's a couple new morphs in the game since the last 10 years. But when you research on YouTube leopard gecko videos, there's only 3 people right now that are making fresh content. When you research ball python videos, there are 3,000, or you know what I mean? Like there's a ton of people making fresh content, promoting this animal, showing this animal off, saying, hey, this is a small animal. You could keep it well. It doesn't require, you know what I mean? Like just promoting the heck out of the ball python market. And I think that didn't quite happen with the leopard gecko market. But what me and a couple other people that are really, really into leopard geckos are doing is trying to take that approach now. Like better late than never, right? And really show people that, hey, even though it kind of tanked and dipped a little bit, there's a lot of reasons why leopard geckos are a fantastic first pet, are an excellent breeder pet. And even if you wanted to turn it into a small hobby scale business, is a great road to go down. So I kind of ranted. I don't know why I just ranted off of what I was going to say in response to you, but I forget. But maybe you have a
Okay, I have a
response.
Yeah, I have a response for all of that, and it's going to be a little lengthy. Okay, so the reason leopard geckos are not as popular as ball pythons, especially currently, they were honestly about 10, 15 years ago. But the reason that there's more promotion in the ball python industry, business industry, I'm not talking about the pet trade industry, I'm talking about the business investment industry, is because there are guys who are literally making $1 million, millions of dollars a year breeding ball pythons. And I'm not sure that there's a leopard gecko breeder out there right now making $1 million a year breeding leopard geckos. And the allure for new people coming in, they're coming in brand new into the reptile industry. They have to pick a reptile to work with. If you watch a video where Ozzy posted about a week ago of the $1 million ball python business, right? Mm-hmm. Of how he made $2.4 million last year off of, I think, 80 something clutches. That gets people excited. They're going in, oh my God, this guy made $1 million. It was a big number breeding ball pythons. There's no leopard gecko guy going out there going, hey, I made $1 million selling leopard geckos last year. I get it. It's not all about the money. However, the money is the bonus. And that's what people, especially new people, are coming in investing. I'm talking about the investing business end. I'm not talking about the pet trade end. People coming in, buying, dropping their first $10,000, $20,000 are going to be more attracted to going into the ball python industry, especially when they're seeing 10, 20, 30 guys making $1 million a year. Miguel always posts a video and explains, oh, this is my best clutch. I made $7,000 off this one snake, blah, 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 blah. Justin made a video, I want to say a month ago, explaining the ball python pricing, why he sold an animal for $25,000, why each animal is worth X amount of dollars, and what the drop is in price every year. So I think that's what makes the ball python industry or market more attractive to new keepers. Now, the reasoning behind the pet trade and why people prefer to keep ball pythons over leopard geckos also is the husbandry. With your leopard geckos, you're pooping, eating, watering, all of that daily. Okay, your leopard geckos, in my leopard geckos, my employee checks the leopard geckos daily for eggs, mealworms, superworms for adults, and we clean out because I keep everything on unprinted newspaper. We have to wipe everything out weekly because they poop That's one thing I love about leopard geckos. They always poop in a corner. Okay, my whole adult colony poops in one corner. Basically, we wipe all that out, but that has happened daily. You have to have eyes on them daily. With ball pythons, they eat once a week, they poop once a week, and it's like a potato. You can honestly go on vacation for a full week, come back, everything's exactly the same. There's just another poop in the pile. With leopard geckos, I feel like the husbandry is a little bit more not advanced because honestly, let's be honest, leopard gecko is about one of the easiest reptiles to keep other than crested geckos. But it is more time consuming and it does require you to at least be hands on or eyes on them every other day or 3 days or so. I would prefer my employees get eyes on my geckos every day just for egg purposes, if a female is losing weight, any of those reasons, because we keep them in colonies. I keep a colony of 1.4. So if a male's losing weight, we need to pull him. That hasn't happened yet. Females losing weight, any of those reasons. And I've been successful with my colonies, keeping 1.4 for the last, let's say it's been, oh my God, it's been over 10 years. You know, we just leave 1.4 and they breed. When they're ready to breed, they just spit eggs and then they gain back all their weight in the wintertime. Come spring, I get eggs. And it just seems to fluctuate that way. But we do need to keep hands on. We've had males where they'll breed themselves until they're super skinny or whatever. Then we need to pull them. So that's why I want to have eyes on them daily. But if I had a room full of leopard geckos, I feel like I would need more employees than if I had a room full of ball pythons. So I think the husbandry plus the money end of it and the promotion side is what keeps ball pythons ahead of all the other species as far as investment and the overall amount of people coming in. They're really drawn out in there again.
No, that's great. That's great perspective, man. I love it. I think the whole reptile hobby as a whole is growing, right? So when someone steps into the hobby, let's say an 8-year-old kid is looking for his first pet. He's either going to be a lizard guy. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like I've always been a lizard guy more than a snake guy. But what really draws me to ball pythons is I love genetics, combinations. And there is no better animal. If you're into genetics and combinations, there's no better animal out there than ball pythons to get into. But that being said, leopard geckos, well, besides boas, they have a lot of genetics as well, but they're a whole nother beast, right? So, but for ease of care and variety of genetics, I think ball pythons and leopard geckos are the top two. So when a little kid comes into his own and is like, hey, mommy, daddy, I want a reptile, they're either going to gravitate to like the popular ball python or the leopard gecko, just in general, right? And so what I'm seeing right now is that there is a new surgence of people because the whole reptile hobby is growing and the reptile shows and interest is growing. People are like, oh, what can I get? What do I like? What's popular out there? And I think leopard geckos are making a slight comeback in the sense that because they're such a great entry level pet, a lot of the new people coming into the reptile industry, not just the snake or lizard industry, but the reptile industry looking for that great recommendation pet, they're settling with a leopard gecko or a fat-tailed gecko or a crested gecko, something similar, right? And so I think through promotion, I can help to show people that, hey, leopard geckos are really, really great, and here's why they're so excitable from beginner to expert level. But I really liked and appreciate your honest feedback there, and I think it's amazing how you're only 31 years old. I saw in Mixology's tape, right? And
I'm 32 now since the video.
You know what? I stopped keeping track of. Well, happy birthday, first of all, in the last week, I guess, right? I stopped keeping track. So I have a young wife. People make fun of me rocking the cradle, whatever. I went back to school to get my bachelor's degree later on in life. I was 28 when I went to get my bachelor's degree, and I met my wife, who was then 20, getting her degree in school, and we connected. It was meant to be, and we're married now, right, for over a year. But she is 8 years and 8 days my younger, right? So I stopped keeping track of my age after 30. And I was like, hun, I don't even want to keep track of my age anymore, but she kept track of it. And so the other day, somebody said I was 33, and I was like, no way. And I asked my wife, I was like, am I really 33? She's like, yeah, you're 33. And I'm like, no way. But I think it's amazing, bro, how you're talking about investment and paying your way through college with leopard geckos. You're talking about all that, and that was over 10 years ago for you, right? So you
Right.
are, in a way, even though you're young and you idolize the JKRs and the Aussies, you've been in this game for a while too, and you've learned a lot. You've made smart investments, and look at you now. I think you're really successful, you know?
Well, thank you. But yes, so when I first started into this, when I was like really, I'm gonna breed snakes type deal. I was looking at those guys. I'm like, man, it would be nice to, you know, eventually get to the point where all of it comes together and pays for itself, right? Again, but it's actually funny you mentioned your wife's younger. My wife's actually younger than me too, and she has no concept of money. She's she's 25, so I'm 32, and she has no concept of money. She, because of the ball python money, it doesn't make absolutely any sense to like anyone outside the industry, right?
Right.
Oh, well, we sold a snake for $6,000 the other day, and they're like, someone paid $6,000 for a snake, and in her head, well, she's an RN, she's a nurse,
Nice.
and in her head, she's like, did you just make my month's salary with one snake? Does that mean, you know, like we can go on vacation and stuff? So she has no concept of money. But I want to loop around to where you said the industry is growing and the new people coming in, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, the industry started growing more like at an exponential rate after COVID. So COVID hits and all of our inventory sold out the next 2 months. Like between March last year during the shutdown and May and June, we sold out of everything. And here's what I think happened. People are stuck at home, right? So everyone's either stuck at home or lost their job or has to work overtime and all this stuff. They're thinking, man, this job sucks. And then Bob's here making a video, Justin's making a video, whoever's making a video promoting the industry and going, man, I made $30,000 last month, or whoever's making these videos. So they're thinking in their head, man, if I can have this little side gig that makes $30,000 or $40,000 a year, it would really help me out, you know, with my options, with jobs or whatever. Because this year alone, this past year alone, 2020 alone, I've had more people message me and ask me how to get in this going as a business or going into this full time or all that stuff. Like the guys that were doing it part time want to go full time, or the brand new guys, 8 months in, a year in, they want to make $30,000 next year. You know, so they're asking what investment animals they should be buying and all this stuff. And I think COVID was a big push for that. People are sitting at home, they're bored, they're scrolling Morph Market, they're buying snakes. We're selling more snakes at a higher price. Wholesale pricing for ball pythons went almost double. I think right now, if you want to buy a normal ball python at wholesale, even if you call Sun Pet or any of those distributors, it's $45. Over a year, the year before, 19 and 2018, you can get them for $12.50 a piece if you buy 10 packs. You know, so right now the price has gone over through the roof. And I think that's what's pushing all these new people in, which is great because we want the industry to grow this way, right? We want just more people.
Right.
I'd rather there be, you know, 1,000 people spending $10,000 each rather than these few dominant guys spending $30,000, $40,000 a year. I want to have a wider spread because each one of those people are going to tell their 100 friends, 200 friends about this new thing they're doing. And ultimately, as reptile enthusiasts, I don't really care too much about adding more breeders. I don't care. I'm in a pet industry. I'll sell 1,000 pet ball pythons. I don't care. But we want more pet keepers because more pet keepers means more educated people about reptiles. I want more people to go out there and tell their friends, hey, that snake is not poisonous, it's venomous, and I'll tell you why. Or, hey, that snake's not dangerous, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you, because that's what we do, right? Every time we see somebody and they say something wrong about reptile, like, oh my God, that ball python's going to eat my kid. Then you have to explain to them, but everything about that. So the way we expand the stigma of reptile keeping, right? Because everyone thinks a reptile keeper is this weird guy with a ponytail and, right. It's always a weird, everyone thinks like reptile people are like really strange like and taboo. Have 10-gallon fish tanks in their house and there's a free roaming Burmese python in their house. So
some do.
Right. There's always that guy, right? But now I'm noticing there's a lot of quote unquote normal people getting into the industry. Like literally, I'm meeting like the most generic, normal, boring people who are getting into the industry and expanding it out. So where like when the outside community looks into the reptile industry, they're like, well, these are just normal people who enjoy reptiles. We're not weird reptile people anymore. And the education is the key, right? For each person we are able to connect with and teach them that not every snake you see is dangerous. Not every gecko or lizard you see is slimy. I don't know why everyone thinks a crested gecko or whatever is always slimy or weird. So I think the education is really big because the industry is growing. I'm watching all these new groups pop up, 10, 20,000 members, the enthusiast groups, and they're out there educating and they're doing these education shows. I used to do the same thing. I used to go into these, I've been one time to a youth detention center where we would teach them about reptiles, and then we would do schools and stuff like that, and these kid centers and stuff. And I see a lot of that going on, and I think that's where the industry thrives the most, is when we're able to educate the public. Again, drawn out expand. If you ever ask me a question, you're gonna get a drawn out answer.
That's good. Always something to talk about, right? I mean, it keeps time. But
right.
Touching on the school topic real quick, I did a school event recently, and there were so many kids it was only K through 5. So we were talking about 6-year-olds through 10-year-olds. Like, it's really, really young. I go in there and I start asking people, like, do you know what a bearded dragon is? Do you know what a leopard gecko is? Where's Africa? I had a girl tell me I'm in the herpetology club, and she was like 7. I was like, wait, you even know the word herpetology at 7?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think reptiles, especially, all kids are fascinated with dinosaurs, right? Boys, girls, a lot of them are fascinated with dinosaurs. And then kind of that natural progressive step is into the exotic pet trade, such as reptiles or exotic birds or whatever, right? And so, but I think a lot of people are breaking the taboo of reptiles being like this unnatural, weird thing to keep. And they're seeing these videos and pictures and school events and shows, or they get brought to one and they fall in love with it. So yeah, that's really cool.
Right. The fear of reptiles is taught, right? That's not something you're born being afraid of, right? You're only born with 2 fears. You're born with the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises, okay? Naturally, or anyways. But the fear of reptiles is taught to you, okay? So when I did these children's shows, I loved it because when I go in, it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter what animal I take out of the box. They're not afraid of it, pretty much at their age. Right. I can pull out. I mean, I've taken Burmese pythons to these kids shows. Now pull out a 12-foot Burmese python, and the kids are all just like, oh my God, yes. They just run up and grab it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what animal it is because they are curious enough at that age where they want the information, and you can tell them all this stuff, and they're going to go home and tell their parents about it. And then we get the call, why'd you let my kid hold a 12-foot snake? Blah, blah, blah. But at that age, they're not afraid of anything. So the most important part of that is to teach them to not be afraid, just to respect the animal. Don't go up and just grab every snake you see. You're at that age, you're not teaching them to identify species, really. You're not be like, okay, if it looks like this, it's venomous snake. But at that age, you should teach them to respect the animal. Don't just go up and grab every snake you see, blah, blah, blah. But also don't be so afraid of every animal you see that you automatically, instinctually want to kill the animal, even though that's what your dad told you, right? Good snake's a dead snake. That's, that I'm in Georgia, man. I hear that every day of the week. I go to FedEx where I ship animals every week, and my FedEx guy will go, oh my, man, you love snakes? Check out this copperhead I killed the other day. I'm like, what makes you think I want to see that? Right? So then I have to educate them. I'm like, hey, that's a rat snake, by the way. So yeah, and it wasn't an 8-footer, it was like literally a 4-foot rat snake. Yeah. It's not an 8-foot copperhead, but yeah.
Yeah, I had the little kids at the show, we broke them down into groups, and we had one teacher showing off a leopard gecko, one teacher showing off a crested gecko. Another assistant of mine was showing off our large Tegu that the kids were getting a pet. And I had the 7-foot Dumerose boa. Dumerose boa is super sweet, awesome snake. I really love them. So, and this guy I trust, like even with kids. But just to be safe, because I don't want any problems with parents, I'm telling all the kids I'm gonna hold the head. The rest of the kids are holding the body, right? And I'm kind of controlling the head, looking at the head, seeing how the snake's reacting. I can't tell you how many kids are like, "Can I hold the head? Can I hold the head? Can I hold the head?" You're right. They have no fear. Like once you, if you don't instill that fear into them, and you do want to be smart, right? There are situations to be scared of scorpions, tarantulas, like things that are venomous or that can actually cause allergic reactions, or rattlesnakes, right? Like education is key. But once you show the kid that there's nothing to be afraid of in a situation, they are less fearful than the adults that have all these like, what if the snake bites me? What if it this? What if it that? You know, built up in their mind. But
Well, I think the biggest thing is that we have all seen that movie Anaconda.
yeah,
Okay, the one with J-Lo, the one with J-Lo.
J
Okay,
Lo
these
and
kids haven't seen it; they don't know. Okay, but that movie was probably one of the worst movies for the industry. Well, and Snakes on a Plane, I get to hear that all the time every time I ship a snake. But honestly, when I give the kids a snake, when I hold the head of the snake, I always tell them, "You're getting the business end of the deal. Like you're getting the danger. You get the butt. You know, I get the easy. You
that's
know,
a good way to put it. Was LL Cool J in Anaconda? I'm trying to remember. The
I
first
want to say it was LL Cool J and J-Lo,
J Lo.
right?
So I knew there was a drastic, not marketing, not social media. What I don't know the word I'm thinking of, but I knew there was a drastic difference between my wife and I when I said to her one day, "Do you know who LL Cool J is?" And she was like, "I have no idea." She had no idea who LL Cool J was, and I was like blown away, you know. But that just
You know what? LL Cool J ruined snakes and sharks for a lot of people.
really.
He was in the shark movie where everyone dies except for him, I think, at the end.
Oh, I remember that movie. That's right. Deep Blue Sea, I think it was called or
Deep Blue
something.
Sea,
That was a
the
good
only
one
movie
too.
where the black guy doesn't die.
That is funny. That's funny you put it that way, but that is absolutely true. Oh, that's great, man. So, yeah. So let's talk race for a second, because I'm not racist, obviously, so we can talk about these things. But it's funny. My wife loves your name, by the way, and she loves puns and she loves sarcasm. And how did you get the name Bob's Balls?
So my name's Bob, so it's easy.
Okay.
And when we did Bob's Balls, I think we created Bob's Balls in 2011. I made a Facebook business page, and I had a buddy actually message me and say, "Hey, buddy, I can't like your business page because I don't want people to think, you know, anything weird of it,
Yeah.
especially at work." And I go, "You know, you can hide that part and still follow my page, right?" And actually, funny thing is actually Facebook banned my business page for selling reptiles online. But with the Bob's Balls thing, I think we've taken it as far as pretty much we can, you know, with everything we've stolen from everything else. But with race, it's funny you bring that up because I think I brought it up once in my last interview. It's interesting for me to see the expansion of different races into the reptile industry.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the most interesting things I've seen. There's a Facebook group that promotes black reptile keepers
I heard you talking
to
about that. Yeah.
yeah, to help educate the black community. The one thing I've noticed when I'm at shows the most is that a 6'3" black guy is very scared of a 100-gram ball python. And I think that's, again, education, right? Growing up, he's never held a ball python in his life or never seen one. So when he sees it, he's scared of it automatically. And I love allowing them to hold their first ball python and seeing how not dangerous it is. But there's a group that literally just helps those communities. And then the Hispanic group, right, with Miguel expanding, and we're exporting more animals to Mexico. And then the Asian community is getting huge. I export a very large percentage of my babies to Indonesia, Korea, Thailand, and the Philippines. Actually, the Philippines, not this past year because they shut down completely because of COVID. But Thailand and Indonesia are my biggest importing countries. So we're watching these because when I first got into the industry 16 years ago, when I went to the reptile show, it was literally every white guy. There was me, the whole room of white guys, and Ozzy, right?
Yeah,
so we're the minority. Oh, no, there was Chun Ku. from Dynasty Reptiles.
Nice.
So there's like 5 minorities in the whole room. But now when you go to a reptile show, it's very diverse.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of new people get into it from all backgrounds. I mean, Indian people, and a lot of Hispanic people. I think that the main thing is that it's no longer weird. Just from these YouTubers and whatever, there's not as much stigma behind it, right? Even for the Hispanic communities or Asian communities. When I was growing up keeping reptiles, I was the only Asian kid that kept reptiles, and I had a lot of Asian friends. They all thought it was weird. All their parents thought it was weird. My parents thought it was weird, and my parents kind of just allowed us to do whatever we wanted. So my dad was just like, just do it if you enjoy it. But a lot of Asian parents didn't allow it. A lot of my friends that wanted to keep reptiles, their parents wouldn't allow it because it was weird for them. But now with all the YouTubers and whatever, it's not as weird. So I feel like these younger kids have a better opportunity to get into this without the stigma, without people looking at them and going, oh, that's super weird. All they got to do is show Bartek's video or whoever's video popular at the time and going, look, man, this guy's got 2 million followers and all he does is keep reptiles. Or look at Justin's videos. Justin, let's be honest, he's a socially kind of strange guy. He's not very talkative or whatever. This guy makes $5 million a year or whatever breeding ball pythons.
Right.
So it makes it so much more acceptable as a business, right? You're looking at Justin. He's very common, normal guy. Yeah. And he's keeping ball pythons and making millions of dollars. Ozzy's a very regular dude making millions of dollars. So it makes it a lot easier to explain the business end of it, and makes it easier for even for whatever race you are right now to explain it to your parents. Hey, this is a real business opportunity, not just some weird fad that's going on. Again, man, really draw out these
that's
answers.
Cool. Huh? But yeah, so I'm mixed race. My dad is like Italian, Russian. My mom is Filipino, right? So a lot of people think I'm Mexican or Hispanic, but my darkness is actually tied into the Italian and the Filipino. But I grew up in New Jersey, which has a huge culturally based scene, right? Like you literally have towns that like all the Indians from India will be in one town, and it'll be nicknamed like Indian Town. You'll have all the Chinese in one town. You'll have all the Russians in one neighborhood. It's very, very diverse. Then I moved to Arizona. It's a little bit less diverse, less Asians out here and stuff, but I feel like I had a lot of Asian friends growing up and stuff, so it's cool to see you, a fellow Asian person, in the game. And I was telling my wife, Whitney, I was like, yeah, there's not many Asian YouTubers or like ball pythons that I see in scanning across the market right now. So I was like, we're going to be interviewing like one of the only ones that I've seen on YouTube. And I was just kind of, talking about how cool it was a little bit. But like you said, it's becoming more socially acceptable for different races now. And a lot of different ethnicities have different beliefs about, maybe they think it's food, or they think it's taboo, or they think it's whatever, But just growing up now in America and kind of breaking those mindsets of whatever the cultural ties might have been to the past can help people see like how cool they are of a species.
And I think it's a lot easier to break cultural ties to how taboo it is to do this stuff. Again, I hate to bring up the money, but it's so much easier. Yeah. It's so much easier to bring it up to your parents when you're making money, right? My mom comes over here, and my parents come over here, and explaining to them that I quit my 9 to 5 to do this, and then they see what we built here, and they see all the success. It's a lot easier to explain to them. But if you're broke all the time and your reptile industry is just draining your wallet, then it's hard, right? Because then everyone, imagine if I was the only Asian guy getting into the industry and I'm broke, okay? All of my Asian friends and my mom's friends are going to be like, you see what happened?
Talking crap about
he went into reptile and now he's broke. So, and my mom gets to explain that to a lot of people too, because my sister's a doctor, my other sister's a nurse, my brother is like an IT whiz, and I breed snakes. So
that's great, but love that, man. Love that. I've missed a couple questions on chat, so let me ask you real quick. What do you do with your retired animals? Do you have retired ball python breeders or other species, and what do you do with them?
Okay, so here, because I'm not saying really limited. Everyone is limited in space to some capacity. We only keep so many breeder females. So as soon as the genetics for that female is no longer, I don't want to say useful because that's a terrible word, but not useful for us, right? So I've already bred her and produced her offspring and her offspring's offspring and held her back for 2 years. Once it's time for her to be replaced, then I have a list of people who constantly want breeders. Then I will contact top of the list, go straight down. Whoever's first to say yes, we sell those the breeders out. I haven't obviously I haven't been in the industry long enough where we've bred a female for 20 years, but I'd imagine in a few more years, we would have had animals for 20 years. And then at that point, we would most likely they'll end up as pets. A lot of them end up as pets for some kids or whoever it is for the rest of their life. I have heard of ball pythons producing eggs all the way up to, I think the last article I saw was like 40 years old, which is to me extremely stressful on them. Again, there's no true research in this stuff because it's such a long span of how long a ball python should or could lay eggs. But considering their lifespan, I would feel like the first 10 to 12 years would be their prime that they could breed being healthy and breed. After that, I feel like they should probably retire as pets and live the rest of their life without the stress of losing a third of their weight every season breeding. Obviously, in the wild, that's not an option. They're continuously breeding until the day they die. But in captivity, we want their health being the main concern. So I feel like after their prime is over, even with rodents, just like our rodent farm, we only breed them to a certain time. You'll notice litters get smaller. So with the ball pythons, however, being they're reptiles and not mammals, their growth rate slower and stuff like that, indefinite growth and stuff like that. However, I feel like that prime of 10 to 12 years, they should become pets and get sold or donated off as pets to live the rest of their life out without the stress. However, when I say wild, we were down in Florida the other day, and I don't know if you saw the video. I'll send you the video link later on my TikTok. But we found an 18-foot berm in the middle of the road in Florida. And we're talking about these wild animals in Florida and, becoming a problem or not becoming a problem, depending on which way you side with that. Yeah. But that animal will breed probably its whole lifespan and lay 50 to 80 eggs every single year for the rest of its life. Right. So, take that information for what it's worth.
Everyone's got their opinion, like you said, but I love reptiles. So this might sound bad, but I love the fact that America actually now has Tegus and America has Burmese pythons. But that's because I love reptiles. I don't care so much about the wild pig population or deer population, But the people who do care about that, they have every right to care about that. Obviously, as a reptile person, it hurts my heart to see reptiles dead, But another argument is that killing the reptiles, there's too many out there and too far of an expanse that the reptiles have already covered. I don't know if killing the reptiles is the answer, because if it's not going to solve the problem, then you're just uselessly killing animals now, so, but,
okay, interesting point you bring up. I could get crucified for this. I really don't care. If FWC is watching this, call me. But, so we found this 18-foot berm. I'm not going to tell you what we did with it, but we did not kill her. She might have escaped. Who knows? So before I'm a ball python breeder, I'm a reptile guy. Because like you said, I'm an enthusiast. So the whole reason we flew down there, 5 of us flew down there from Georgia. We were in this discussion. We want to know if this problem is really a problem or is the media hyping it up, right? Makes sense, yeah. So we rented a little cabin right outside of Miami, drove into the Everglades, herped there. If you're an avid herper, if you've never herped Miami or Everglades, it's amazing. It's literally the craziest you'll ever herp. You herp your local areas and you'll find, king snakes, whatever. But in Miami, you never know. You literally never know. You could be waking up because the cabin was 8 of us sleeping in there, and the house had 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. So you can wake up in the middle of the night and you have to pee. So you go outside to pee. And there's a tokay gecko staring right at you.
Croaking at you.
Yeah, and then morning, we went for a morning jog. We went outside to the back. There's a little channel that runs back there. Iguanas are all along the channel, and we found basilisks. Basilisks everywhere. And then we went to lunch at a very small gas station that was recommended to us. Amazing food. But when we left the gas station, there was a pile of rocks, and there must have been 200 red-headed agamas there.
Oh, nice.
And so Florida has become like the melting pot for all the reptiles that can survive down there.
Right.
And honestly, I love it. I'll be the first to say I'm not killing any of the reptiles we find down there. They all escaped. They all bit me and escaped, I guess. I just like seeing it. And sure, it's wrecking the local fauna and all that. And it's, being competition for all the other species. But again, I mean, isn't that what humans did too? I mean, we came in and we wrecked everything. So we introduced a lot of these animals. And killing them now is, what are you going to do? You're going to shoot every single iguana you see? They're going to keep populating. I'll tell you right now, red-headed agamas are almost impossible to catch. They're super fast. Tegus are just too damn smart and too strong.
Lots of
adaptive.
Eggs.
Yeah.
Resilient.
Bert in Alabama used to breed them outside in Alabama. They dig 6-foot tunnels, hide down there through the winter, lay eggs, come back out in the spring. I mean, these animals are adaptive.
Amazing.
They're going to eventually do what they're going to do. Right now, sending out teams to hunt them down and shoot them, you're basically putting a Band-Aid, and not a very good one, onto a big problem. You're sending out these teams to go hunt berms. Berms lay 50 to 80 eggs at a time, a year. A big berm female. How many teams are you going to send out there? You got, thousands and thousands of square miles to screen through. I mean, granted, the berms are only in the 3 counties that we went to. All the other counties, we found nothing. No one's even reported sightings of them. The few counties that we saw with the sightings is where we went to, and of course we found the few berms. And honestly, it's amazing to see a big berm in the wilds of Florida on the highway. It's honestly an amazing sight.
Wow. So it wasn't even in like the boondocks. It was like a main highway.
Oh, dude, we herped from 6 o'clock in the afternoon till 9 when sundown.
Yeah.
And then we actually ran out of gas. We were riding around in a minivan cruising, and we ran out of gas. We were literally down to like 5 miles, and we're like, okay, let's get to the gas station.
Yeah.
So on our way to the gas station, riding about 60 miles an hour, I mentioned to one of the guys, hey, if we see a berm, we don't want to run it over, so let's slow down. We slowed down to about 40 miles an hour, and everyone behind us was just like pissed. Like, we're just driving 40 miles an hour on the highway. And sure enough, this big ass berm was in the middle of the road.
Wow.
And we stopped, and everyone behind us stopped. We flagged them to go around, but they didn't, because they're watching this show right now. They're watching a berm. And it was amazing. Everything happened perfectly as it did. We got to the gas station, filled up. None of us got bit. I mean, it was a really perfect trip. And for anyone, avid herpers, I would suggest you fly down to Miami, rent a very shady cabin, and go ride out from 6 o'clock in the afternoon till about 2 in the morning, and see what you find. We found I think we found 16 species of snakes. Really cool fish. If you look into these streams, there's literally cichlids and all kind of fish that shouldn't be there. Yeah. And just lizards and tokay. Tokay geckos were everywhere. Morning geckos. You find every chameleons. I found chameleons in probably 20 different locations in Florida. So
wow.
They're everywhere. At this point, what do? We go out there and shoot every single one we see. It's like there's no answer for that.
Well, I like the way you put it. It's, if at best, it's putting a Band-Aid over a wound. Now, I know this isn't the answer they want to hear, but at some point, don't you just accept that they're a part of the ecosystem? Like, at some point, just accept it, But they're not, obviously.
We want to say, okay, they're invasive. Okay, what do you do?
Like you said.
So what do? You go in and you try to clear them out. There's almost I want to say it is impossible to clear out the iguana population in Florida. It is impossible. There's just too many at this point.
Yeah.
Even with as many Asians that are down there eating them, there's just too many.
That's a good point. And yeah, the world is constantly changing, right? So-called, it used to be one continent, right? And then broke up into other continents. Animals are constantly shifting from different environments. Like naturally, it's natural as thousands of years, even as hundreds of years go on, it's natural for different animals to take over different ecosystems. Yes, humans did introduce this animal to this ecosystem, but I mean, it's natural for animals to take over other ecosystems anyway. It would have happened eventually somewhere else or with some other species or with some other animal. So, I mean, it is what it is. I like
Honestly,
reptiles, so I'm biased. But
they're blaming this pet trade, people releasing snakes or whatever. Iguanas and agamas and all these species, they've been in Florida for like 30, 40 years. It's not a new problem. It is becoming a new problem when the media hypes it up and all these developing companies are trying to come in and clear land. No one says anything about that, right? These companies coming in and destroying, 500 acres of land to put in a new casino and parking lot and shopping malls and new neighborhoods. But no one mentions that about the destruction of anything of the environment when that happens, right? You just put in a whole new subdivision. You cleared out everything in that area.
Yeah.
No one cares, right? It's all about the money, because how much money these companies are pumping in versus how much these reptiles are pumping in, right? So it's nonsense almost. Like these guys are going to come in, these oil companies or whatever, do whatever they want. They'll clear out 1,000 acres, no big deal. But a Burmese python eating your chihuahua, makes times, and they got to take care of the Burmese problem they have. We have a people problem. We don't have a reptile problem. We have a people problem.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, very good points. I had a thought on my mind. What was it? I forget what it was, but.
I ran a lot, so
no, it's good just to be able to talk about things, right? But sorry, I forgot what I had something to say and then forgot it. But let's see. So well, thank you very much for being here, Bob. We're gonna go for another little bit. You're okay with that, right? I appreciate that.
Yeah, fine.
That you're here, spending your time with us. It's a little bit late where you are on the East Coast. You're 3 hours behind where we are here on the West Coast. But I saw that you had a Tegu in one of your photos or videos, right? Is that a black and white and red Tegu? I saw like some red hues and black and white hues in there. What kind of Tegu is that?
So I have an Argentinian black and white. You see a little bit of red on him. He has a scar on his head. But that's he's a black and white, really good Tegu. So he is the problem for the reptile industry. I feel like now I realize it. When people come to my house or see my videos, I take him out. They get to pet him. He's like literally puppy tame. I hand feed him sometimes. I just hand feed him balls and stuff like that. So the problem with that is people don't realize it takes hours and hours of handling and socializing him. When he was a baby, I would bathe him while holding him and soak him while holding him, so he gets used to my hand and stuff like that. And I would hold, turkey balls on my hand, make him walk onto my hand to eat it. So the same way Nerd does their videos. But the problem with that is when you go to a reptile show and you buy a Tegu, I don't know how much Tegus sell for. I think like $200.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Yeah. So you buy a $200 Tegu because you think, oh, well, Bob has a massive, and I'll tell you, the 5-foot Tegu is a very impressive animal. It's a pretty animal. It's a smart animal. It's literally, if you're scratching his cheeks, he closes his eyes like he enjoys it. But now you go spend $200 on a Tegu, and he bites you every day. Because he's Florida wild caught or whatever. Or he's just not socialized because some guy put 10 Tegus in the tank and you just pick one out. Now, you're not going to spend, if you're not an avid reptile keeper, you're not going to spend hours and hours and hours and hours playing with this thing. You're going to dump it. And that's where it's really depressing to see, because Tegus require a lot of time and space. My Tegu cage, it takes up that whole program, the whole side of the program.
Yeah.
You can't put a Tegu in a 4-foot cage.
No.
The guy selling you that Tegu might tell you that because he wants you to buy the Tegu. He's not going to tell you that a 5-foot Tegu requires a 10-foot cage and requires space and roaming and digging and UV, and that your UV bulb is going to burn out every 3 months, it seems like. And, you know, those UV bulbs are $50 a piece.
Meat prepping and all that stuff.
Right. And an adult Tegu eats a lot of freaking food.
Yeah,
you can't just keep sucking, you know, there's no dog food or whatever you use. You know, you switch up between turkey, so fish, rodents and stuff, and chicks and eggs and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So they don't tell you about all this up front. And I feel like as an industry, we need to be better. We need to be better at educating and losing a sale and be okay at losing a sale. It's difficult because I see retic guys do this a lot. And I don't want to shit on the retic market or anyone selling retics, but I see this happen more often than I would like. Is I'll go to a show and, you know, a 12-year-old kid's going to walk by with a baby retic that they just bought for $150 or $200. And you know what? The problem is retics are beautiful animals. As adults, they're beautiful animals. An albino retic is hard to beat as an adult. However, that keeper doesn't tell you that your baby retic grows 5 to 7 feet a year. That first year, you can have a 7-footer if you're feeding them heavy. You know, heavy being every week. You know, you can have a 7-foot retic in 1 year, and you can go from a 10-gallon tank to literally a 6-foot cage within a year. So as the industry goes, we have to be better with being upfront with this information. Sulcata tortoises are literally my least favorite animal in the pet trade right now. The amount of sulcatas that get donated back to the animal sanctuary that I help out at 10 miles away from my house. Sulcatas get dropped off there all the time because everyone buys a sulcata about this size for about $200. And in about 5 years, that sulcata has outgrown the little tank you bought, a cage you bought, an enclosure you built. And then in 8 years, 7 years, whatever, it ran over your fence. It literally ran over your fence or dug a hole through and got out or whatever. The amount of sulcatas people dump is ridiculous. It's a smart, stubborn animal, and they're very destructive. And they should not be in the pet trade at 50, 100, whatever amount of money. They should be $1,000 animals just so people stop buying them, honestly, and stop breeding them. But yeah, that's my rating about sulcatas.
No, that's a good point. And, you know, as much as I would love to, there's only so much we can do, right? Like as a seller, you can ask the right questions, sell to the appropriate ages and stuff. But especially with the wholesale market, you don't know where your reptiles are going. And so it's very tough to control. But yeah, that does happen to where somebody buys a beautiful animal that's low cost, but is going to be really high maintenance in a year or 2 years. And they just wind up releasing it into the wild, and it dies naturally because the environment's not built for it, or it survives like in Florida, or they release it to a sanctuary like you're talking about. Yeah, that is tough. But I, like you said, I do like to do my due diligence to look at the person that I'm selling to, kind of just make sure that everything is looking as good as possible, right? As good as it possibly
can. Right. I mean, that's why we work with the species we work, right? They're the easier maintenance pets. That's why, honestly, there's a reason I don't work with retic sperms or anything like that. Honestly, I don't know if I can sell retics. Every single person that would buy a retic from me, I'm going to ask them 45 questions before they can even hand me any money. I don't even know if I can sell retics.
Yeah, then you'll have 100 retics in your house. Huh?
Right. I'll be like, okay, how many reptiles have you kept in your lifetime, right? Because you're not responsible enough to keep a retic if you haven't kept reptiles before. You haven't had, at least 4 or 5 reptiles years of experience. You shouldn't even buy a retic. And I'm watching people buy caimans and alligators and, large monitors, water monitors. Geez, those are terrible. They're huge lizards. Right. And people are buying water monitors like it's, buying a bearded dragon. I'm like, you do realize this thing will eat a bearded dragon, right? And people
in like a year.
There are reptiles out there that I feel like they shouldn't even be in the pet trade, honestly. I mean, should have a licensing for it or some type of, we need some type of system. I don't know the answer for this, obviously. I don't know if there's a right answer for it, but we need some type of system to to prevent a lot of these animals from suffering. You know, someone's going to leave whatever animal is in a 10-gallon tank. It's most of its life, and it's emaciated, and they're not feeding them. They're not using UV. You're watching tortoises, leopard tortoises, and all these tortoises grow with these giant pyramids on their back because all these people are feeding them is lettuce and strawberries because it's cute. Stuff like that, you know, because at a show, everyone feeds their tortoises lettuce because they're constantly munching. So people want to buy them. Yeah. So when people go home, that's all they feed them, lettuce and strawberries, because they see it on Pinterest or something. And it's, you know, and we're looking at all these tortoises that we see that come into the animal sanctuary with these giant dome pyramid shells and all kind of weird shape because they haven't even had UV in their life. You know, so I think it's, without the education and without us being willing to educate the public about it, a lot of these animals will continue to suffer.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Very good point. And it just came back to me right now. I think what I was going to say earlier too. It was about the whole reptiles in a business thing. And I remember you talking on Mixology's show about how you were hated on a lot, and even Facebook groups of hate were dedicated to you because you talked about, you were a young man, first of all, and you're still young now, but you were even, you know, 10 years ago or whatever, even younger. But you were willing to talk about business and the pet trade. But I think that is a legitimate conversation because nobody goes to McDonald's and be like, hey, you're making money off of me, so I don't support you. Like, there's a trade-off, right? In the business world, you are providing a service or a product for somebody, and hopefully, in our case, a good service or a good animal, a healthy animal. And to do all of that right, it takes expenses, it takes employees, it takes space. And so to look at it like an actual business that provides quality service with quality animals, I don't see anything wrong with that approach. But like you said, some people get it really twisted and they connect like, oh, you're making money off of animals, but how else you going to get an animal, a healthy animal? Like, you could buy an unhealthy animal, but if you want a healthy animal, if you want known genetics, honest feedback, customer service, like, I know one of the things that I was impressed with you was, as busy as you are, you responded to my message like really quick, and you're even making time for me, who's not even a ball python channel. Like, you know what I mean? Right. And so that's the customer service aspect of what you buy into when you pay good price for a good business. You know, I think there's nothing wrong with business tactics and implementing that into the reptile world or the pet world, you know?
Right. So I was hated on when I first started into the industry because I'm a numbers guy. And I did very well in insurance sales because I'm a numbers guy. I know my exact sales percentage, my exact sales rate. I know how many appointments I need to book to make $2,000 a week. I know all the numbers. And I run by statistics. So when I got into the reptile industry, I ran everything, all the numbers up, and I tell everybody these numbers. You know, we know that we get 7.8 eggs per clutch on average a year on our annuals. We know how many locks it takes. We know at what millimeter size we need to stop breeding our females so that we don't waste our males away. So with me finding out all these numbers and telling everybody, and they viewed it as me, first of all, giving away all the trade secrets, monetizing this industry and going in and looking at the money side, because anyone that invests, anyone that calls me and spends $10,000, I want them to be successful. I don't want them to spend their $10,000 and then leave the industry the next year because they didn't make any money, because I didn't teach them anything. So when you're calling me and you're spending $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 of your family's money, I want you to be successful at this. So I'm going to teach you the trade secrets, how I make money, how my sales percentage, blah, 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 whatever it is, you know. And they saw that as me coming in, making money and throwing in the numbers around and making this about the money. Obviously, it's about the animals. Obviously, you can see from my facility alone, we care a lot about how the animals are treated, how we keep them, and making sure they're always clean, have water, and all that stuff. So that's very important. However, you can't keep any of this going if you're not making money. I can't pay employees. I can't, I can't support the 6 employees we have, and I can't support my family, and we can't afford to buy racks and rodents and all these upgrades that we need to make every year to keep the animals healthy. So when I came in and I was making all these numbers and explaining all this stuff, they viewed it as a negative. But however, you can see from my following, a lot of people took to it and became very successful, which is amazing. I want to see all my customers become successful, because then they will post about it, and then they'll come back to me when they're ready for a new animal or whatever. I have very loyal customers, and I think it's so important for the reptile industry as an industry for us to support each other. And there are always going to be people who hate you. I actually was watching that interview that I did last week earlier today. I actually have never watched it, and I listened to it today to see what I said on there, so I don't just keep repeating myself on this video. And I was watching it, and I told my wife, man, there's 3 people that thumbs down this video. I was like, what did I say to piss them off? I get it in this video. I was kind of bashing the whole Socata market, and I was talking about USARK too much. But in that video, I was like, why did people thumbs down this video? And she had to explain to me that not every single person you meet are going to like you. There are people just don't like you just because, the way I look, the way I talk, maybe I talk about money too much. I talk about the business too much, whatever it is. And I'm perfectly okay with that now. With as big as the industry is now, if only 1% of the industry hates me, I'm perfectly okay with it,
Yeah. And what was I going to say? I forget, what did your wife tell you? I think I was going to comment on something she said. She
said, not every person you meet will like you.
Not every person you meet will like you. Yeah. That's what I was going to say is, even there's no problem talking about the money, but it takes money to run a business. But
right.
I heard you say this in the last live stream with Mixology, is that no matter how much money you do or are not making in this industry, it is going to take passion for it to continue on. Because
right.
Look at you right now. Like, it's almost midnight where you are, and you're giving customer service to the business, to the reptile world right now in your gecko facility. And my daily routine, I'm in this full time right now too. My daily routine looks something like waking up between 9 and 11 o'clock and not going to sleep until 3 o'clock and just doing reptile stuff repeatedly all day. Social media, videos, reptile care, reptile breeding, especially like you said with leopard geckos, because they're laying a clutch every 2 weeks, you're literally looking for eggs for every single day based on how many females you have. And it takes a lot of work to do this full time. If the passion is not there, who's going to do it till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning every day if you're not even passionate about it? Even if you are making millions of dollars, the passion has to be there to really push you to go forward,
Right. When you asked me if I was willing to do an interview from 10 p.m. till midnight, literally, I'm like, well, on a normal day, I would literally be responding to emails from my West Coast customers. My West Coast customers start emailing me. I usually get them coming in around 10 o'clock at night over here. Wow. By 11 o'clock, they're asking for pictures. By 12 o'clock, there are guys over there calling me with emergencies. I had a guy call me this morning. He had a clutch of eggs, and his incubator wasn't even set up, and stuff like that. So, I mean, we get those calls. Look, West, I have to understand, we are three hours ahead of you guys. I'm going to get those calls at midnight over here because some guys just got off work in California and has to call me because there's an emergency. And we're not in the industry. Like, I'm not we're not in the medical emergency type business, but to me, it's an emergency. If you call me and you say, "Oh shoot, I have a clutch of eggs and I'm panicking," I'm gonna be on the phone with you for 30 minutes, because I don't want those eggs to die. So yeah, the customer service is huge, and the reason I'm on this channel, you're not even a Ball Python channel, but again, we want to expand the industry this way, right? We want to get more people involved, and even if none of your viewers even care about ball pythons, I'm hoping at least they join USARK, or now they are more educated about what's happening in Florida, or more educated about the industry overall, with the amount of money being pumped in thanks to COVID or whatever. Even if they just get educated a little bit, it helps, between your thousands of viewers. That's why I like doing these podcasts,
How many live streams have you done? Just curious. How many have you been on, you know?
Probably over 10. I know it's
Oh,
over
nice.
10.
Oh, so it's a good amount then. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I saw mixologies, and then I think I watched one with you and Trap series, right?
Right,
Um,
I did the trap series. I've
Trap
done it
series.
with Dave Levinson and with his series. And then I've done it with another Gecko guy who was Chris the Gecko guy. And then I've done with Billy Rose. I did his.
Nice.
I'm on Miguel's on the next one for his Patreon. I did another Patreon one recently. And then the mixology. So yeah, we've been on a few.
Okay, nice. That's really cool. That ties into something I heard. I can't remember his name right now, but the owner of Underground Reptiles in Florida. Um, it's an old saying that when the tide comes in, all the boats rise, right? And so I think there's this whole mentality when you start talking business and money and reptiles, people who maybe aren't doing so well on the business side of things and they want to be doing well, they sort of get on edge because now you're coming in and you're promoting, you're drawing customers that they think could be theirs to yourself. But at the same time, when you are collaborating, I like to say this: when you're collaborating with other markets and other people, their audience now becomes aware of the other people's audience and the whole industry just blows up, like you said, as a whole. So the mentality of, oh, he's taking customers from me is the wrong mentality. And the mentality of, oh, he's bringing customers to the market. And sometimes
Right.
Bob isn't going to have snakes and Bob can recommend other breeders. And same with me. Right now in Geeky Gecko Creations, I'm getting lots and lots of people asking me, hey, do you have geckos for sale? And my response to them is, this is a strategic holdback year for us. I'm holding back every single gecko so that next year they could be a breeder for me, so that I will have a plethora and expanse of geckos to sell. But I'm recommending tons of other breeders that are in the hobby. I'm recommending where these people can buy geckos now. You know, and so whenever someone steps into the reptile world, they just bring a whole lot of, you don't know how much attraction they're going to bring with them, but that should be encouraged rather than, you know, crapped on or discouraged, you know.
Right. So I always recommend other breeders because, again, you can see how short I am on inventory here. Hell, at a show, if you're looking for something specific, I'll walk you to another table if I know they have it. But you're right. A lot of these old school guys, I'm not saying a lot of them, but quite a few old school guys really hated when I got into the industry because I came in and kind of shook it up a little bit. And I said, hey, do better, especially when you're at a show, right? So we're coming in with these new setups, banners, whatever we do, and all these new ideas that we do. And a lot of these guys don't like that because now their displays look old, outdated. Their salesmanship is it wasn't good to start with because 20 years ago, it requires no salesmanship. There was only 20 breeders.
Right.
If you want to buy a snake, it has to be from him. He doesn't even need to sell it to you. Now, with the amount of breeders and new guys coming in, you need to be a salesman. You need to be able to talk to people. You need to be able to explain, all the husbandry and stuff like that. And when I came in and we did all this new stuff, I think that's what kind of turned a lot of guys off with me coming in. But like you said, every single person that comes into the reptile industry brings something from their background, whatever, and their friends. They're dragging in 200-300 friends with them because now, of course, when your friends come over and you have a tank over there or a rack over there with 20 snakes in it, someone's going to ask. Your friends are going to ask, how's that snake thing going? Blah, 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 blah. And you're going to post pictures on your Facebook. And your 200 friends that don't know anything about reptiles will be able to see it and go, ooh, nasty or whatever, Yeah. And you're bringing in new eyes. For every single new person we bring in hundreds of eyes. That's why when we have celebrities, especially, it's very important. Like I had Dwight Howard come to my auction one time.
Wow.
Now NBA champion Dwight Howard.
That's crazy.
Came to one of my reptile auctions in Atlanta. And when he was there, he had 20 people standing with him, his little entourage, and they were bidding on stuff. And him buying a tortoise and a snake, and he actually bred boas, and posting that in his social media is huge. Wow. He gets millions of people to watch this stuff and see this stuff. You know, so I feel like every single new person is very important into the industry because everyone that they're able to affect after that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I've seen Miguel start to connect and collaborate with what we, celebrities as well,
Right,
really known
right,
people. And I
right.
think it's cool. Like, there could be a lot of people that are like, oh, these people don't have time for animals. They're going to care for it inappropriately. Well, my first response to that is there are so many people that care for animals inappropriately that are not celebrities, right? Your average person walking
Right.
into a pet shop is probably going to miscare for a few animals before they get it right. But
And come on, man, how much time does it take to keep a ball python? Like, how many times are you walking in a day, right? Like, come on.
yeah. But yeah, just bringing more awareness, like we were talking about earlier, how reptiles are not so taboo. They're super, super cool. And if you're looking for something that's close to a dinosaur, but since dinosaurs don't exist, reptiles are the way to go. And if you are somebody who's really, really interested and passionate about it, there's great information out there now to be able to take care of these animals. And I think I heard you say it on Mixologies, but back in the day, a lot of people used to keep industry secrets a secret because they did not want you to succeed. But one of the things
Right.
that's helping this industry grow right now is that there is so much promotion out there showing you, hey, you can do this too. Oh, you're an 8-year-old kid. Oh, you're a 30-year-old guy that's just that has a passion for reptiles. You can keep them. You can breed them. It's possible. You could even make a business out of it if you really wanted to.
Right. 15 years ago when I was asking people how to incubate leopard gecko eggs, now that obviously we realize how easy it is. But back then, you get your eggs, you don't know what to do with them. You're freaking out, right? You would be surprised how many guys blew me off.
Wow.
And just gave me some BS answers. Albie Scholl was one of the main guys. I called Albie and I said, Albie, I got eggs. What the hell do I do? And literally he walked me through it step by step.
Nice.
Building an incubator, blah, 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 blah. And my first leopard gecko eggs was probably the most rinky-dink little incubator you can set up. I used a fish like aquarium heater, like water heater, and I heated up the water inside of a styrofoam box, and it increased the whole temperature in the box, and every gecko hatched, every egg hatched. Back then, these guys didn't want to tell you these things. They don't need you to be successful because now they're thinking if you hatch 20 geckos, that's 20 sales they're going to lose.
Right.
But they're not thinking about that. If I hatch 20 geckos, being that they're my first geckos, a lot of times, especially all these new breeders, they give them to their friends. Mm-hmm. You hatch normal single gene stuff, you give them to your friends. Now you got 20 new reptile keepers. Right?
And
so it's like
they're looking to expand.
Right. They don't think about the big picture. They're thinking about, oh my God, this kid's gonna steal 20 of my sales.
Yeah, no big picture. So I mean, I think that this mindset that we're talking about right now is so much more acceptable. But obviously, there's still a few people, and maybe they have been in for a while. They're not gonna like it or they're not gonna agree with it. But it's almost too late already because there is so much promotion going on out there now. If you don't change your ways, like business, and that's the thing, business and marketing must always pivot and adapt and change to be prevalent, right? Or to be relevant. The word I'm looking for is relevant. So if you want to be relevant with the current market, the current generation, the current people, you have to see what do these current people like? What platforms are they on? What is drawing them into the hobby and what is attracting them? And you have to mimic that in a way, And like you said, not everyone's going to be good at everything. I'm not that good at Instagram. I'm not that good at Facebook. But I've really been pushing this YouTube thing over, making videos, editing videos. Excuse me. And within the last year, just 1 year of me being dedicated, I've grown to almost 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. And you know as well as I do, YouTube can be used as a financially assisting platform. So right now, with 2,000 YouTube followers, the ad revenue that I generate is almost $150. But I'm growing at a rate of 200 to 300 subscribers every single month, and that rate is only going to snowball. By the end of the year, let's just say I'm at 5,000 subscribers. By next year, let's say I'm at 10,000 subscribers. Now, I can multiply that $150 by 10, and now I'm making $1,000 a month off of YouTube. So there do what you like. The reason I do YouTube is not because of money. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy talking to people like this. But find what you're good at, what you're passionate about. There's many different avenues, and pursue those avenues. Be good at those avenues. Give your time and passion to those avenues, and followers will come, attention will come, it will grow, you'll do well. You know what I mean? So
100%. And honestly, I'm terrible at Instagram. If you looked at my Instagram, I post like once a week.
Dude, and your pictures are nice though, like good quality.
Yeah, I try to take good pictures, but I'm terrible. And you know what? Those pictures is literally me taking a snake out of the tub in my hand, and I just snap the picture right that. But because of the room. But I'm terrible at Instagram, but I love Facebook. I'm a Facebook junkie because I love memes. I make memes every single day, and that's all. Like that's how I grew my followers. Actually, I post all these memes, and all these people just kept following me. But no, if you're good at a platform, and even if you're not good at social media platforms, get good at doing shows. A lot of these old school guys don't even use social media.
Right.
Guys aren't even on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, but they're just great at shows, or they're just great at breeding animals, and they just bring nice animals to the shows. Focus on whatever it is, just focus on that. You'll do fine. Social media is very important. My younger sister is actually a social media like specialist. Like companies pay her to manage their social media accounts, and she does very well at that.
Nice.
But again, you have to be adaptive. If you're not good at social media, hire somebody. Like Justin, he hired somebody to do his social media because he's not good at it. So again, be adaptive. And you'll do fine. But the one thing that's not acceptable, in my opinion, in the industry is if you don't want to see other people do well, I honestly don't think you belong in the industry. Because at the end of the day, if you don't want to see these people do well and you're not giving them good advice, it's actually bad for the animals and bad for their families that all that money they invested in. And there's not a place for those type of people in the industry.
Yeah, maybe they're more interested in the money instead of actually educating people and finding good homes for the reptiles and providing customer service and good quality animals. Maybe that's what they're really threatened about, is they're actually threatened about the money. Maybe they're the ones that are actually threatened about the money, and they're saying that we are. But business and money goes hand in hand with a good business and good customer service and good quality product, which in this case is animals. Just because we treat animals like a business does not mean we don't care about the animals. I would be doing this even if I didn't make money, and I think you would be doing the same.
But I would keep snakes. I just wouldn't have this many. I would keep my collected few and whatever in the little snake room. Because again, even as I was growing up as a kid, every kid has done it. They went out, caught a ringneck snake, put it in a little container, put a twig in there, and be like, all right, this is my pet ringneck now, right? Mom finds out about it. I mean, every kid does it, or every reptile enthusiast does it. So we're going to keep reptiles to some capacity, even if this wasn't for this business. People have to understand that also. That's the passion of it. Is even if this legislation come down and bans all reptile sales, I'm still going to have some type of snakes. I'm going to have some type of reptiles in the house somewhere. It might be, hidden in a basement so people don't find out about it or whatever. But yeah, we're going to keep reptiles to some capacity because that's the passion behind it, behind the business. You're not going to go to a restaurant and tell the restaurant owner, hey, you're making so much money, you must not care about the food.
That's their passion. That's why they're in business.
Right. You're a chef. Why are you making so much money? Are you overcharging? No one's asking people that, so they're being ridiculous.
And on the flip side of the coin too, a worker is worth their wages. It does take a lot of work to run a reptile company successfully. Like you said, it's 12 o'clock at night. Think about this for a second. Most people have a 9 to 5, right? How many 9 to 5ers would be willing to be answering people's questions at 12 o'clock at night, cleaning poop at 3 o'clock in the morning, unless they have employees? You know what I mean? You motivated me. You were on Mixology's stream, and you said something about coming home from a show and discovering eggs, and you're like, man, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm super tired from the show. I've been driving 8 hours or whatever, but I got to set up these eggs. If I don't, there's that small chance. Yeah. So that
Right.
happens in the life every day of a reptile breeder. And it was the other night, I think my wife and I were on like a movie date night, and I came home at like midnight, and there still needed to be like 2-3 hours worth of reptile work that needed to be done. Stuff that I had to prioritize, pulling eggs, check, the stuff that I prioritize every night, pulling eggs, incubating eggs, and just making sure that everyone's okay through that process for the geckos, right? And I really, really didn't want to do it, but it actually reflected in my mind what you said to mixology, how you didn't want to pull those eggs at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're super tired from a full day's worth of work, but you did it because you knew it just had to be done. And that is
Right.
the definition of what we do in the reptile hobby is you do things because they have to be done, but the only reason that you're willing to sacrifice is because you're passionate about it. You love it, you know? So,
Right.
um,
And people don't understand. It's like, they're like, well, this guy wakes up at 11 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, well, on Fridays when I go to shows, you're not there. I drive 6 hours to Tampa to go to the show. You know, we've been from, we get there to the show around 9 o'clock in the morning to clean, set up. And then we leave at 5 o'clock, and then we drive 6 hours home. I'm home at 10 o'clock. By the time we load in, I always take my animals out of this place as soon as we get home. By the time I get animals all loaded back, because we spray everything every time we come home from shows, just in case. Everything gets sprayed down. Every time we pack the displays back into the storage room, it'll be about 2 hours later. It'll be midnight. I'm going to go pull every single red tag in here to see who laid eggs. We're going to go set up the eggs. We're going to go check all the leopard geckos, going to spray down crested geckos, small stuff like that.
right,
And
adds up.
but people aren't there for that. We're not going to post about that, right? I don't want to post that on Facebook, what I'm doing at 2 a.m. I want to post what just crawled out of the egg when I got home, what just laid eggs. Look at what all the fun stuff I'm doing, but this is stuff that I post on videos and tell people about because I need new people to be prepared for this. That at 2 a.m, a lot of us are checking our incubators that we got cool stuff hatching, and they're going to get into that excitement and they're going to understand all of that stuff. So this is stuff we prepare people for ahead of time. That 60-day wait for eggs to hatch is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
60 days is a long freaking time. If you're staring at those eggs,
Absolutely.
Every day, it lasts a long time. But small stuff like that is stuff we need to tell people ahead of time. Why would I hide that? I don't want you to vend your first show, get burnt out, and go, oh my goodness, I didn't finish till 2 o'clock in the morning. That's so tiring. You need to know that ahead of time going in on this.
Yeah.
That on show weekends, you're going to be dead ass tired after a show. Because you spend all day actually on your feet talking to people. So that's just all stuff we like to prepare people for ahead of time.
Right. Yeah, I did. My wife and I know we're getting close. We're at like the 8-minute countdown now. But my wife and I, we did our first reptile show here a couple months ago. And I was amazed how much energy it took out of me. I loved it. But the reason it took so much energy out of me is because you're there for 8-10 hours, whatever it is. You're excited. You're talking to people. You're showing off reptiles. You're also, it depends if you have employees or not, but you're also monitoring your station, make sure no one's stealing nothing. You're talking to other breeders. There's so much mental activity and physical activity that's going on. By the end of that day, you are super, super wiped. And that's why I had total respect for you when you said, and we live 20 minutes from the show. I don't know how far you were, but if you were getting back at 2 o'clock in the morning, I had super respect for you. And even as far into the hobby as you are now, I was like, man, if this guy's pushing himself at 2 o'clock in the morning after a drive, after a show, after making sure the animals are healthy and safe and everything's clean, right? Because that takes a mental burden is hygiene. I'm constantly looking, I'm OCD. I think I heard you say you're OCD too. So when you're OCD, you're constantly observing things that are wrong or things that could go wrong. That takes a lot of energy. And when you're working with hundreds or thousands of animals, multiply what can go wrong by 2,000. Those are the things that you're constantly thinking about all day managing. You're the manager of this. You know what I mean? So
the furthest show I've been did so far was Arlington, Texas. It was a 12.5-hour drive. And we take the drive straight. We don't stop. We just stop to eat and stuff like that. But we don't stop for hotels or anything. So on Sunday, we had already gone out drinking Saturday night. Sunday, we've been, I think it was 8 a.m. We get in. Oh, the show opens at 9 o'clock. We close at 4. We load everything up into the van, and we drive from 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We got home at, I think, 6 o'clock. We stopped for a 1-hour dinner on the way home. We got home at 6 o'clock, and everyone is dead ass tired. You know, we went 3 of us that went to that show. And I told him, all right, get them animals unloaded out of the van and get them into tubs. So everyone's helping, getting animals in tub. I said, all right, who's going to volunteer to spray them all down? You know, this is now at 6:30 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and we're all trying to get to bed. But I told him, like, if one of these snakes has one mite on it, this is going to be hell for the next 6 months for somebody. You know, so, you know, we went through, sprayed every single animal down, went through the whole process. 8 o'clock in the morning, we all went to bed, woke up, you know, later that afternoon, felt great. That, you know we already got everything accomplished. We don't have to constantly stress, oh my God, I should have just done that before I went to bed. But that's just pushing yourself. And honestly, you get to take the next 2 days off. I mean, in this, we get to enjoy the next following week. You know, did a good job at the show. So honestly, if you're just willing to push yourself in this industry, you're going to do fine. Everyone, I tell everybody, it doesn't take anybody special. It doesn't take anybody way too smart to do this. Honestly, we just throw 2 animals together. They do all the work, you know, even on a genetic standpoint. I can teach you how genetics work within 10 minutes, 20, 30 minutes for some of the more complicated double recessive stuff and pos, hets and all that stuff. But it doesn't require anyone you know, exceptional. I mean, other than the fact that I'm above average looking, there's nothing special about me, you know? So, I mean, honestly, anyone can be successful at this if they put their mind to it. I mean, I don't want to be, you know, cliche about it, but I didn't know anything about reptiles coming into the industry. You know, you can learn all that on YouTube now. Right. You know, I'm willing to teach anybody anything that I know in the industry to help make them successful, as long as they're willing, you know, just shoot me a message. So I feel like the door is wide open for new people, honestly.
Yeah. So in closing, touching on your handsome comment there, I saw an old photo of you doing a human flag. I think you were doing, and you were shredded, bro. Like you were in shape. I don't know how long ago that was, but do you remember that photo? Did I see that correctly?
God, that was like a decade ago.
Dude,
okay?
Human flag, so, not easy.
Yeah. However, I can still do a human flag.
Can you really?
Yeah, I'm a lot thicker now. I weigh probably 30 pounds more than I did back then. I can still do a human flag. I'm working out fairly heavily. I just started my cut this past week. This is my first real weight cut. I bulked up to like heaviest I've ever been in my life, and then I'm starting my cut now. It's miserable. Yeah. I'm cutting my calories down to 2,200 calories a day. I didn't realize how low how little food that is, because I'm used to eating 3,000 calories a day. But I can still hold a human flag pretty good. I'll send you a video. I did that in Miami when we were down there herping. We went out to Muscle Beach and kind of showed out a little bit there. But yeah, I was always into fitness for a while. Then I got real fat. And then I kind of, I was working 70 hours a week doing insurance. Yeah. So I didn't hit the gym for like 4 years straight. Finally, after moving to the city in August last year, I've gotten back to like a regular schedule. You know, for fitness wise, I tell people all the time, if you want to get in better shape, make it a priority. And when you make it a priority, that means you schedule it. Okay. Absolutely. My wife, my employees, all my friends know that between 5 and 7 p.m. I'm at the gym. Don't call me. Literally, I tell people, don't call me between 5 and 7 p.m. That's my workout time. You know, it takes me 30 minutes to get to the gym, you know, take my pre-workout, whatever, get to the gym, stretch, do all my stuff, work out, come home, unwind. For those 2 hours, don't call me, you know, unless it's an emergency. But if you prioritize it, it'll make it a lot easier. You're not going to miss out on I missed out on the gym because this happened. No, you didn't schedule it. You didn't even pencil it in. You know, like obviously it's not a priority. So for anyone looking to get in shape, weight loss, whatever, prioritize it, pencil it in. Anytime I pencil anything into my calendar, it's set in stone. You know, I tell people that's that. I'm going to be doing that day. Don't call me around that time. You know, so like haircuts, whatever, you know.
Yeah, and one of my final remarks before getting off with you to tie into that, I am
Like,
beginning to, yeah, look at that. Oh, I'm getting, see, I used to also be super, super workout. I had a good workout routine, but life happens. And especially when you are a business owner and are doing this full time, um, right now I'm just by myself. We just recently have a volunteer assistant just over the last couple weeks that is now starting to come on board with us. But being by myself, like I said, I'm literally waking up 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and I am almost nonstop until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning for taking care of reptiles and everything that entails: social media, care, breeding, the little things like you talked about. Crested geckos are so sensitive to humidity. They need spray, especially in Arizona where natural Arizona humidity is like 10%, right? So
right.
little things like that when you keep different species. But I have not been committed to a workout, and my body has been suffering. And when your body suffers, your mind suffers. It's very important that even as a business owner, you take time to prioritize some other things besides the business. As much as you're passionate about the business, I get it, but your body's going to suffer and eventually your mind's going to suffer. You want to keep those things sharp, you know?
On feeding days, kind of funny. On feeding days, Mondays, my feeding starts around lunchtime. I start feeding snakes around lunchtime. I would finish a lot faster if I didn't take a break. So I feed from lunchtime and then I go eat. And then I stop at 4 o'clock. Okay. My employee knows, he knows exactly what I'm doing when I stop at 4 o'clock. So lunchtime, 4 o'clock, I head up there, I shower, I head out to the gym, and then I come back at 7, and then I go back right back into feeding, and I'll finish up around 9, 10 o'clock. But that's my schedule. If you want to go to the gym at 6 in the morning, you want to prioritize it at then,
Yeah,
it's up to you. I have no energy at 6 in the morning. We breed snakes for a reason. Okay. I wake up at 11 and then I start everything, all my work at lunch, on regular days. So again, that's up to you. I think just making it a priority, if it is a priority. I'm not telling everybody to go out and get into the gym. If it's not a priority, if you don't enjoy it, don't do it. I've had people, before when I say younger, I would drag people to the gym with me. And then, you need to go to the gym with me and all this stuff. Now, if you don't enjoy it, just don't go. I tell people that's not something you enjoy. I enjoy being there. I'm not there because, I better work out or else I'm going to, not be in shape or whatever. I actually enjoy being at the gym, even though I'm not in that great of shape. I just like being there, because it's just for me to unwind for 2 hours. No one talks to me. I don't respond to, hey, Bob, what did I just breed? What did I just hatch? I bought a snake from PetSmart. I don't respond to those messages for 2 hours. I get to unwind. I get to clear my head. And I think it keeps me sane, and it makes the day go by faster on feeding days. I break it up into two sections. I finish this first, and then I go back at 7 o'clock and finish, the last part of the feeding or whatever, so.
What music do you listen to when you go to the gym?
Oh man, it's all over the place. My wife jokes on me about my playlist all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, looking good, man. Looking beefy. Good job.
Yeah, looking beefy.
Good
But
job.
no, my wife brags on me all the time when I connect my phone to the car when I drive, because it can change. So if you didn't know this, Jackie Chan is a great singer.
I did not know
So
that.
he pops up. He pops up on my playlist every
Does he
now and
have
then, and
songs? I did not
he has
even know
songs.
he
Okay.
has songs.
Look up after this interview. Look up
Okay.
Jackie Chan singing the theme song for Mulan.
Oh my gosh, I will. I have to do that now.
You won't be disappointed. But
Okay.
I listen to all kind of stuff. It's mostly rap music, rock music, whatever. And then I listen to a lot of it sounds so late. Now it's so obvious. Anime theme song pop on, hey, whatever pops on, I listen to it. I don't mind.
Yeah, and that's a really
Could be
cool.
Taylor Swift. Hey, Taylor Swift will get you through a workout, man.
Yeah, as you get older, I mean, when I was younger, like different things embarrass you, but as you get older, you're just like, forget it. Like I'm just.
And then you turn old, man. You turn old, and you say, man, they don't make music like this anymore.
Yeah.
And then, you listen to a bunch of Linkin Park and
Oh man, Linkin Park's great. Yeah, but I appreciate you so much, Bob. I thank you for your time. I I know you still got work to do and stuff, so I don't want to hold you too long. There's a lot of topics that I didn't get to ask you about, but maybe I'll save that for a future video. But this was a really cool time to get to know you a little bit, just relax for 2 hours and kind of have some, normal conversations, topic conversations, promote USARK, talk ball pythons and life in general. So I thank you very much. Was there
I
anything?
enjoyed it, man. Let me know when the next opening is.
Yeah, I will definitely, my man. I really appreciate it. So to you and the family, thank you very much, and we will see you guys next time.
All right, man. Thank
So
you.
thanks, Bob. See you next time.
Yep.
Bye.
See, how do I get out of this? Oh, here it is.